The middle point of the season has begun, and after Silverstone, there's only going to be 12 more races to go, and with this being a silly season, many drivers are signing and re-signing with teams to avoid being put out of the grid for next season. And one of the biggest names in all of this is Carlos Sainz. Sainz is a fantastic driver, however, in an effort to bolster connections and marketability, as well as bring in some much needed experience, Lewis Hamilton was signed on to Ferrari, and this has now left Sainz without a seat. Now, initially, the door to almost every team was wide open, but now, doors are closing quickly, and if Sainz doesn't make up his mind for where to drive soon, we could be saying goodbye to one of the best drivers on the grid far too early. So, in this video, I want to analyze Sainz's options for next season and determine where is the best team for him for 2025. So, we have a lot of options to discuss, so let's go alphabetically and start with Alpine. Alpine decided to drop Esteban Ocon after his shenanigans in Monaco and chose to retain Pierre Gasly, so now that leaves one seat potentially open for Carlos Sainz. I'm gonna be frank, this is not happening. I say this because Sainz has a history with the team since in 2018 he did race for them back when they were Renault, and things weren't exactly smooth, since after only racing for them for 1 year, they decided to drop him for Daniel Ricciardo in an effort to bolster their marketability and connections, as well as add some much needed experience to the team. Sounds familiar. So I really doubt that Sainz is going to want to go back to that team. However, if worse comes to worse and he does have to race for Alpine, I think retirement would be the better option for him. The team is a failure and it sinks just lower and lower each year, and that seat would probably be better taken by a youngster who can establish themselves and then move somewhere else. So, for Carlos Sainz and Alpine, it's a solid no way Jose for me, since I don't think it's going to happen at all, looking at both parties and their interests and their futures. Next up worth mentioning is Sauber, because of their rebranding to Audi in 2026. Valtteri Bottas and Zhou are both at risk of losing their seats for next season, and this was made even worse by the fact that Nico Hülkenberg was signed to the team for 2025, which clearly shows that the Audi influence is starting to take over, and if that's the case, Sainz could very well be signed on. This is because Carlos Sainz Sr., Carlos Sainz's father, has the Audi connections, and if Sainz Jr. does sign for them, he can be guaranteed that he will be the lead driver and can potentially build a dynasty with him leading at the front. This would be very ideal for him since he would have a say in development and signings and in the team orders, and these are all things that he had only once with McLaren, but even then, Lando's rise was starting to counteract that advantage he had, so this move to Audi could be exactly what his career needs. However, with every good thing that could come out of this, there are bad things that could come up as well. The main problem that can come from this is that, well, Audi suck. There's no guarantee Audi will be good in F1. Sure, they did well in other series such as endurance, rallying, and sports cars, but F1? It's different gravy, and just like the other teams who were dominant in other racing series but not F1, it seems that they can share this very same fate. However, these are all hypotheticals, and this is something that cannot be predicted, only speculated. So, looking at all the speculation and possibilities, my verdict for Audi and Carlos Sainz is a certified dub. Now, let's talk about Williams, and this could also be a very realistic possibility for Sainz for a 2025 drive. Williams, since they're selling to Dorilton Capital, have been on the rise, since the new investments have rid the team of paid drivers, meaning they can maximize their results by hiring two, actual talented drivers. The new investments have also bettered the team facilities and staff, meaning more efficient upgrades can be certain, and adding on a leader like James Vowles, Williams are certainly on the rise. If you've seen my video about who is in line to lead F1 in 2026, you would have seen me say that I think Williams could be the dark horse of that era, and I still stand by that. So, if Williams in this new era can be consistent point finishers and finish on the podium here and there, Sainz can be looking at a very nice seat there. And let's be real, Logan Sargent, he had his run, or more like jog, in F1, and I'm sure If the rumors are true and he signs with Prema in IndyCar, he will shine like he did in F2, so having said that, I don't think he will be re-signed for 2025. Imagine, an Albon and Sainz partnership at Williams. We can genuinely see some of the most consistent driving from a driver pairing that can even rival McLaren's, and add on the fact that Williams will probably be point scorers often in 2026, we can see something juicy here. But there are catches again for this potential Williams signing. The most obvious problem is that Williams don't go anywhere in 2026, and they simply stagnate. However, I think I have sufficient evidence to back up Williams here. The Merc engine in 2026 will at worst be the second best engine due to statements made by Merc and other teams, so Williams can be happy with their engine, and with the new investments allowing for better car design, I think Sainz can rest assured he will be treated well with good service and cars for 2025 onwards. However, there is another problem that can arise though, and that is that Sainz won't be treated with respect even if he disappoints just a little bit. We saw that with Latifi and Sargent. The moment Williams lose their faith in them, they just are abandoned like a prom baby. And I know it's wrong to compare Sainz with those two, but that's not my point. It's Williams' mentality that is the point. So Sainz must perform consistently well, otherwise he will be left without a seat yet again. However, having said that, my verdict for Williams and Carlos Sainz is also a certified dub looking at both of their interests. Now, we should also highlight the other teams, since the three I mentioned previously aren't the only teams with open seats. So, the remaining teams are Haas, RB, and Mercedes. Now let's quickly talk RB. It's not happening, don't be dumb. Now for the other two, and let's start with Haas. Haas F1 is one of the F1 teams of all time, and I don't think Sainz is going to want to waste his time there, since it seems that the team's only ambition is to not finish last, which even then they struggle with sometimes, so I don't think this is going to appeal to him, and it already seems that Haas are set with Bearman and potentially Ocon, so for this move, I think both parties don't even want each other. Now for the biggest team here, Mercedes, and this can be different. Mercedes obviously lost their duel with Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari, and this has opened the door for a straight swap between the two teams and the drivers. Mercedes is obviously the best performing team out of Sainz's options, and it almost seems like a no-brainer to go to Mercedes, right? Well, there's glaring issues with this move, and one of them is that Mercedes right now are going all in on Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He is massively impressing in F2 this season, considering he was in Freca last year, and he's matching the performances of F3 champions and F2 veterans in that really bad Prema car. So I don't really blame Merc for going all in on this kid, since it is for good reason, but the problem is that he is 17 and perhaps too young for F1 still. So wouldn't the simple solution be to just put him in a seat like Williams and sign Sainz for stability until Kimi is ready? Well, this leads into the other issue with Sainz and Mercedes, and that is, Sainz is not long term. George Russell is long term. Kimi Antonelli is long term. That's two prospects bred by Mercedes right there. So this leaves Sainz just being a filler driver until the stars align for Merc and Toto, and who knows, maybe they align at the end of the season, and next year the Merc lineup is Russell and Antonelli, which obviously leaves Sainz with nothing. So as for my verdict for Sainz and Merc, it's also a solid no way Jose for me yet again. So after looking at Sainz's option for 2025, we have narrowed it down to two teams, Williams and Sauber/Audi. Yikes. Both teams could be good entering 2026, however, nothing is a given, and for all we know, Sainz can be a backmarker for the rest of his time remaining in F1. So, after analyzing everything, where is his likely destination for 2025? Well, I think it's Williams. Now, I gotta admit, I'm not 100% confident in this, since Audi could very well come into F1 swinging, but I think Williams, due to the pull of the Merc engine, since it's an engine that Sainz has never raced with, as well as it being maybe the fastest engine for 2026, and I think the leadership is actually going to appeal to Sainz more, which will land him the drive for Williams in 2025. Now, like I said, Audi could come into F1 swinging, and I have no doubt that Audi can be another good option for Sainz due to his father's connections to them, and their project could be more enticing. But I think Sainz is going to want certainties over speculation, and I think that decision making is going to convince him to join Williams instead of Audi for 2025. So having said that, there is what I think of the Sainz seat problem for 2025. I do think Williams will treat him right, and looking at his entire driver career, it's honestly going to be filled with so many prestigious moments, such as with him being part of Red Bull's academy, and then driving for Renault, and then driving for McLaren, and then Ferrari, and now maybe even Williams. Very nice teams if I do say so myself. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want more content like this, and of course, tell me where you think Sainz is heading for in 2025 down in the comments below. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.